Okay, remember that they are changing my voice. This video is about the operations against me and constitutional rights. This can be a very good video, even though I'm being filmed here. So let's look at the word hostility. The word hostility starts with the word ho, and it starts with the word host. Also, after the word ho, you see the word still is in the word hostility. Ho, host, and still. Okay? And it refers to the state that you're in, right? Why are you still not, for example, doing something you shouldn't be doing, which is kissing the governing class's ass? Why are you still not, blindly being pro-American? We'll get to that. So a third or fourth grader should know that we have certain constitutional rights, civil rights, human rights, what you might call God-given rights. Obviously, I call them that. A story for another day. The third or fourth grader understands that there's some things we're not supposed to be able to vote on. For example, if everyone wants to throw your kids into a meat grinder just so they can giggle and do a ritual, should it be up for a vote? No. If everyone wants to rape a little kid, should it be up for a vote? No. If everyone wants to persecute a humanitarian son who's the top martial artist ever possible, should it be up for a vote? No. There's certain things that should not be up for a vote. Now, when it comes to military campaigns, for example, Afghanistan from October 7th, 2001 to August 30th, 2021. Okay, eventually Biden pulls out the troops, what have you. About 2,420 American soldiers were killed in Afghanistan in that 20-year period. Okay, that's about 121 a year. In Chicago last year, they had 573 homicides. Homicides. This number doesn't include suicides or, drug overdoses, what have you. They had 573 homicides, over 4 times as many homicide deaths as there were deaths of American soldiers in Afghanistan. In any given year. In every given year. Now let's think about that. When the military is not coming together to say, hey, we have a problem in Chicago and in Baltimore and St. Louis, what have you. There's these huge homicide rates. Can they then turn around, and I'm not saying it's the military, I'm not saying the military is the only one targeting me, mind you. Can they then turn around and say, well, you're not being pro-American enough, and we're fighting a war out here in the Middle East, and people are dying. But there's more people being killed, more Americans being killed in Chicago in any given year than in Afghanistan. And eventually we left Afghanistan. There's basically no active war zones, no serious active war zones that are, that have American troops there right now. So how can you say, hey, we need you to be pro-American? You're not pro-American enough to recommend more law enforcement in Chicago? To recommend more services to combat poverty? Okay? But you expect the population here, which has, the constitutional right, they have the constitutional right to criticize America and the military. You expect them to kiss your ass? There's not a serious American war going on right now. Not a serious one. But all over the country, there's people being murdered. And they're being murdered because of American culture. They're killed in America, and the reason why people kill them is because they're in an American state of mind, and they're justifying it to themselves in a way that has to do with American culture, basically across the board. And that's just one city. One city. So are the lives of soldiers worth more than the civilians? Then why do we send soldiers off to die for unjust wars? If their lives are worth more than the civilians. If their lives are equal to the civilians. Why do we put praising the soldiers above the constitutional rights of the civilians? Pretty straightforward. So they were provoking me in a psychological operation because I'm not part of an American grouping. Okay, I was doing my own thing. I'm born in America, but I was doing my own thing. So they were fuming me and poisoning me, and they still are, and provoking me and trying to make me a fucking terrorist. So they can say, hey, he's a terrorist. And they're trying to make it so that I seem something that I'm not, which is mentally ill. I have 23 witnesses on record to them fuming me and poisoning me and running psychological operations on me and provoking me, trying to make me a terrorist at one point, at least, and trying to make it so I seem mentally ill so they could say, hey, people who see it his way, they tend to be terrorists or they become terrorists and they're mentally ill, which is unconstitutional. It's a violation of my civil rights. It's a violation of my constitutional rights, my human rights. It's a violation of various UN resolutions and mandates, a violation of the Nuremberg Code, and nobody cares enough. So why they were doing these things to me, and I had witnesses on record, okay, they were trying to make me seem like a terrorist. I don't think people understand that. What is the implication? Right now, it's harder for me to even talk right now, as I'm talking about them violating my constitutional rights for years and years and years. They're violating it right now in many ways, and one is that there's fumes in the air. No one airs out their car more than I do. I've been fumed in 5, 6, or 7 different vehicles. 4 rental cars alone that I rented myself, actually 5. My old Mitsubishi Eclipse and this Ford Fusion here, and my father's car. That's 7 different vehicles I've been fumed in. So it's not one random problem in a vehicle. That's 7 different vehicles. And I was never fumed in any vehicles before they started fuming me using the vehicles. Not that I'm aware of. Pretty straightforward. And I have 23 witnesses. Again, 23 witnesses on record. And at one point I was fumed so much that I was blinded and crippled for several days. And I'm still suffering from being disabled because of that. And I haven't collected a single penny from disability. Haven't been compensated at all. Been shunned for years. I'm 43 years old now. When they really started turning it up on me, it was back in about 2011 when I was about 29 years old. I was turning 30 that year, didn't turn 30 yet. I would have turned 30 I turned 30 in toward the end of that year, and toward the beginning of the year, okay, they turned up all the kind of sabotage against me. They turned it up on me. Now, again, they're making it harder for me to talk, which makes it harder for you to listen. They're violating my constitutional rights, and it affects you. And they're suppressing my videos. America is not supposed to work with corporations to pretend that the censorship is fair and square, and then to censor people in ways that are unfair, and then to zoom in on people and to target them for more censoring. So that the people who are moving against you more than anyone else, people are the main enemies of the Constitution and their network, they're the ones that they promote. Celebrities are the main enemies of the Constitution. They're controlled opposition at best, and they never effectively, keyword effectively, move to give you your constitutional rights. Never. It's unheard of. Never. If they speak on one issue briefly, they never effectively move to give you your constitutional rights. Same thing with politicians. When's the last time you heard a politician talk about gangstalking and label it as such? It's like virtually unheard of. So when a 3rd or 4th grader understands that what they're doing is constitutional, should the military be in on it? Should law enforcement? Should the intelligence agencies? The President of the United States says, go rape that person over there. Should you do it because you're a cop? So then why would you persecute the son of a humanitarian? Why would you persecute somebody who's made over 16,000 videos telling the truth, trying to help society? Why won't they come together? Why won't law enforcement on duty right now say, hey, let's stick up for this guy? And if they fire us, we'll sue him for wrongful termination. Because either they're pure evil or they're kind of evil and they're fucking terrorized. Which again is illegal and unconstitutional. Do you no longer have freedom of speech because you're a police officer or in the military or in the intelligence community? Or you're somebody they've recruited to target somebody illegally? But they're afraid to speak on it. Everyone in this country knows, unless they're severely retarded or some severely mentally ill or something, that there's stuff in the food and in the air, etc., to some degree. There's the Flint water crisis. There's things that happen in Chicago with asbestos. I'm sure they have a problem with water there as well. Things get recalled all the time. Because of carelessness and recklessness, because of economic disparity and all kinds of other reasons, people are kept from having opportunities they would otherwise have. And everyone knows that the government singles out people and makes their life harder. They blacklist them, they persecute them, you name it. It's part of why all valid martial art competitions have ended. They're just invalid ones. It's just a joke. It's circus versus focus. Focus on character, focus on fair play, focus on universal justice, or it's just a circus. A sick, psycho circus. So in the next video I'm going to make after this one, we're going to talk about a little bit about videos I made in 2009, 2012, 2015. We're going to zoom in super tough on videos I made in 2017, okay, which is 8 years ago, which is a little, which is known as about halfway from when I started making videos in 2009. Okay, 8 years from 2009 and 8 years before 2025, the year we're in right now. Okay, and we're going to compare that to some videos I made in 2020. And I've done this many, many times. I've reviewed my videos. I've talked to people about it. There's a consensus that I'm being treated unfairly here. It's obvious that I'm targeted. It's obvious that I'm being fumed and poisoned. It's obvious. It's obvious enough to where if you're a police officer stumbling upon this, you say, hey, we should probably investigate that because that's felony harassment, felony stalking, felony group stalking. And it's being done on a humanitarian son. A brain surgeon who's a humanitarian and top doctor is being done to his son. Should people be given a fair, equal treatment under the law? Or should there be selective law enforcement? Is it not illegal for law enforcement to ignore crimes that are taking place? To ignore the evidence? Pretty straightforward. I'm not so concerned with police officers getting arrested or something or fired. I'm concerned with justice on a much deeper level than that. They are being terrorized by corporations and the government to the point where they are afraid to stand for what's right. An oligarchy is basically an authoritarian system. It's like feudalism. It's an authoritarian system. It's a totalitarian system where they terrorize people until they're afraid to tell the truth. Until they say stupid things like, I think rich people magically work hard for their money and da-da-da-da-da, and they deserve, and we shouldn't tell them what to do with their money. There are people, someone just told me that, I just came across that comment not too long ago, like a half hour ago. Someone responded to a comment, one of the few people responding to me. They select who responds to me, and they said, yeah, we shouldn't be telling these people what to do with their money. Is this not a democracy where we vote on representatives and we vote on things and we vote on legislation and bills in California and so on and so forth? Prop this, prop that. And those things determine tax rates for rich people, for example. And it tells them how to spend their money to some degree. I'm not saying that we should tell them how to spend all their money to a T. But yes, it's a democracy where we vote on things like tax rates. And we have people who promise us that they're going to raise taxes on the rich being voted into office all the time. But they're afraid to even acknowledge that because you terrorize them. Everyone knows that rich people have unfair privilege, old money, favoritism, nepotism. Crony capitalism is not who you know, it's who you blow. Excuse me, it's not what you know, it's who you blow. We all know that this system is terribly unfair. So as we look at the situation, we look at the timeline. Back in 2015, they were trying to radicalize me. And I said, look, my country is betraying me to the extreme. They are targeting me. They are poisoning me. They are just as bad, if not worse, than the terrorist groups they cite, in a sense at least, because they do it on a larger scale. And they have no viable counterargument when terrorists say that the government is the terrorists. They're all terrorists. The terrorists are terrorists, and the government terrorists are also terrorists. We have Donald Trump saying that they're weaponizing the Department of Justice and this and that, and that just today I came across a news video on YouTube where it said he let go of or suspended a bunch of people in the National Security Council. National Security, you know the types of people that you'd expect to persecute people like me? He said they're deep state. The President of the United States, his administration in agreement, they said these guys, for the most part at least, they said these guys are deep state. And I've been saying that I've been persecuted by the government for many, many years. Now, why wouldn't conservatives help me? Because they too are corrupt people who cancel cultures and persecute people. Now, let's say you're a conservative and you don't think I'm right. Whether or not you agree with me or not, don't you think they should investigate this? And fairly? Not some kind of Klan-like investigation. There's nothing to see here. But an actual, sincere investigation into why, when I reported these things, there was no investigation. No one cared. And if there was, they certainly aren't paying attention. I presented proof after proof. The other day, someone had a license plate that said Doc dead. How many of you have come across a license plate that says something about a doctor being killed? How many of you are the son of a brain surgeon who said in thousands of videos, or hundreds of videos at least, probably thousands? And I said I'm persecuted, I'm being threatened. Think that's a coincidence? And there's other license plates that have said things that aren't a coincidence as well. Pretty straightforward. One thing that the people, anyone investigating would know for sure is not a coincidence is the phone call I made to the police department, and they sent me, they had me call someone's cell phone, a police officer's cell phone for plausible deniability, and I recorded that conversation, and you can see clearly that they were downplaying what I'm saying. I said they're targeting me in an organized manner, they're fuming and poisoning me, and some people are brightening me with one headlight and so on, and shining their brights on me, and he's chopped it all up to mere traffic violations. On record. Phone call recorded. That by itself is enough to launch an investigation. Maybe you can use it in court. Maybe you can. Because of extenuating circumstances. But it's enough to say, hey, these guys are playing fucking stupid about this. And this is felony stalking. Launch an investigation. Give me evidence. Give me the police reports so I can sue these people in court and get compensation. They refuse to do that. At the same time, someone said, well, we can't tell rich people what to do with their money. The same rich people who made the system this way that are denying me my fair share of money. And I'm not a materialistic person, but think about the implications of 50,000 suicides a year in America alone. It's almost 1,000 a week. And how often is it about money? Or 60,000 people dying without adequate access to health care every year in America. How often is it about money? Gang members killing each other in Chicago, 573 homicides a year, most of them gang-related, I'd imagine. How often is it about money and things related to money and women? When I was younger, I saw a study that said that about 10 to 12% of gang-related homicides are romance-related in a consumer society where money has a lot to do with that. Why aren't lawyers? I've written lawyers before, too. I emailed them. They didn't want to take my case because they were scared. This case is worth millions and millions, maybe over $1 billion. And they're scared to take a massive amount of money as their lawyer fees. They're scared to take on the case. That's terrorism. When greedy lawyers are afraid to get paid hundreds of millions of dollars, it's because terrorism is fucking taking place. Now again, there are people who think that because I'm stumbling on my words with 23 witnesses on record, including witnesses to me being fumed and poisoned, that it's somehow a sign that I'm something I'm not, which is mentally ill. What the hell? You think 23 witnesses and me going to the doctor because I was blinded at one point? Okay. Mean nothing? The doctor's report means nothing. 23 witnesses mean nothing. That I must be fucking mentally ill. And me stumbling on my words must be a sign of that and not being fumed in fucking poison. That's how fucking unreasonable this society is. If you're being treated that way, would you perhaps start insulting your country for treating you that way? You betcha. When the more popular, the party with the most people in it is the Democratic Party. Most of them don't vote. But most people, vote Democrat. Because of electoral votes and not popular vote. Quite often, Republicans lose popular votes and they win the election based on electoral votes. And the Democratic Party has been described by the Republican Party as un-American. Lots of them have burned flags and they complain about America. But I'm being fucking persecuted for complaining about America? For showing people up? Especially conservatives? I'm being persecuted for insisting on freedom instead of bootlicking to some fucking terrorist organization here in America? Some corporate terrorist dogs? Being persecuted for saying things like I've said in this video? And they try to turn me into a fucking terrorist to stigmatize me? With CIA mind control operations, with 23 witnesses on fucking record, and no one fucking cares when the top experts in the field say the CIA mind operations are still going on, when the President of the United States accuses them of weaponizing various departments. Well, you think the CIA isn't weaponized? Is everyone a fucking idiot? You think the son of 2 doctors, one a brain surgeon, who's a college graduate and the top martial artist, shouldn't be taken fucking seriously? Then who the fuck should? Who the fuck should?